you doing, my beloved sister and brother? And I know you're getting ready for Thanksgiving. It is my prayer that this is going to be a great one for you. And I wanted to not leave you without a word of some study, maybe rather contemplation, as we look into this theme of Thanksgiving. I wanted to find in the word for us, what does it mean to have Thanksgiving in your heart? And there are certainly some ideas that give some theological backgrounds and whatnot of what Thanksgiving means, some definitions, but what are the actual examples of people giving thanks? And so one of my favorite texts that deals with giving thanks has to do with the book of Ezra, after the children of Israel had come out of one of their times in captivity. The temple has been destroyed, and you got to understand that the temple was central to the life of Israel, and the land was, to that point, the greatest blessing that God had bestowed upon a people who had been all the time looking for a home of their own. And so, not having been in the land and not having the temple, this was what greatest time of sorrow for them. And in Ezra, it talks about when they finally got a chance to get back. It's the third chapter, if you've got a Bible, of the book of Ezra. Right about the 8th verse, it says these words. This is the New Revised Standard Version of the Bible, the updated edition. In the second year after their arrival at the house of God at Jerusalem, in the second month, Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, and Jeshua, son of Jozadak, made a beginning together with the rest of the people, the priests and the Levites, and all who had come to Jerusalem from the captivity. They appointed the Levites from 20 years old and upward to have the oversight of the work on the house of the Lord. And Jeshua with his sons and his kin, and Kadmiel, and his sons, Binnui and Hovadiah, along with the sons of Henadad. The Levites, their sons and kin, together took charge of the workers in the house of God. When the builders laid the foundation of the temple of the Lord, the priests in their vestments were stationed to praise the Lord with trumpets, and the Levites, the sons of Asaph, with cymbals, according to the directions of King David and Israel. And they sang responsively, praising and giving thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his steadfast love endures forever toward Israel. That's kind of the entryway, but I want you to really hear this. It starts in the second half of verse number 11. And all the people responded with a great shout when they praised the Lord, because the foundation of the house of the Lord was laid. But many of the priests and Levites and heads of families, old people who had seen the first house on the foundations, wept with a loud voice when they saw this house, though many shouted aloud for joy, so that the people could not distinguish the sound of the joyful shout from the sound of the people's weeping, for the people shouted so loudly that the sound was heard far away. There's a few things that are in that text. I'm not sure if you heard it clearly or not, but I want to try and illuminate these pieces for you. The first piece is that they're busy building, and in the process of building, with all of the various families that came with their specific responsibilities on various portions of the temple, they were so excited that they were turning over a new leaf. They were turning into a new season of the life of Israel. Yes, the temple had been decimated. Yes, they had been in exile for so long, but now they were back. And now they were excited in the building process. And families and their family lines came together to do the work. And in the process of doing the work, they were thankful And as they're being thankful and doing the work, the priests that are in place, the Bible says that they are in place giving praise, and they started the worship. Because a lot of times it seems today we don't have enough people who are in the lead for worship. Yes, there's a worship leader in churches at the worship time, or the praise and worship time, if you will. But people who are really ushering in for individuals and for the community a season of praise, a season of thanks. And so for a moment, I'd like you to consider, are you that person? Are you the person that's to lead your family, your spouse, your people, your friend circle into that season of praise? And I want you to note here that it says, when the builders laid the foundation of the temple of the Lord, the priests in their vestments were stationed to praise. They were in position to praise. And so because of all of the positioning and because of the fact that they were the ordained people in order to do the work of praise, they now led in the praise. They were the first ones to give God praise. Where have you been positioned in life? Where do you seemingly have your life now stationed? And who's around you? Maybe your assignment in this season is to lead those people into thankfulness to God just for the foundation of what's getting ready to occur. And then the Bible goes on to talk about how the people now get into the act. First, the priests lead the way, then the people get into the act. And as the people start to move into their praise of God, it is interesting that once again, I raise the word to you, foundations. The temple is not done yet. They're not even close. The only thing that they have, Bible says, is the foundation. But because they had that, they had the beginnings of something, they had the start of something, it was looking like it could get better. It was going to get better. It was starting to turn around. Even though the actual walls and the ceiling and the roof and all the things that go inside of the temple for worship and for learning from God and hearing from God, all of those pieces were nowhere to be found on this piece of land. Only thing that could be found was the foundation. Are you at the start of something? Are you and your family at the cusp of something getting ready to explode, turn off into something that has been waited for a long period of time? Have you just gone through a rough season and now you're just starting to lay a foundation for some new things to happen in your life? You don't have it yet. It's not established yet, but you have established a foundation. You have at least the groundwork set up for something great to happen, not just for yourself, but to the glory and honor of God. And I want to remind us that you don't have to have finished products in order to have faithful thanks to the God that's been faithful to you. You don't have to have everything all in place and completed. I hear this so many times. I've been a person that said it myself. I should be further along than I am right now. By this time, by this age, by this season of my work life, my personal life, I should be further along by now. I should have more things set up already. And I need to let you know that you ought to pause for a minute. Give yourself a moment to recognize that God has started something great through you. And this is worthy of telling the Lord, thank you. It says in the scripture that the people who were thankful just to have had the foundation and the people who remembered what the foundation represents that was previously there who wept, both were so loud that it could be heard from afar off. I know a lot's been made about what does and doesn't go into thankfulness. That it doesn't take all of what some people do to be exuberant in their praise. And in fact, and indeed, it's true that there are some folks who are just putting on a show for other people. But when you've been through something, when you've got life looking at you with only a few pieces of foundation and wondering whether or not this is a good moment to give God thanks, I want to remind you that even as far back as in the times of the Old Testament, in the 3rd chapter of Ezra, you'll find that when the foundation gets laid, that's a good time to give God thanks. It's a good time to give God thanks before you arrive into your blessing. It's a good time to give God thanks before you get into what it is that you see in your future. It's a good time to give thanks, even if all you've got is a foundation. Look, before you eat, for those of you that are going to be around the table, maybe with friends and family, before you put a knife and a fork into that food, before you do it, you're going to give thanks to God for the food that lays before you. It's already been prepared. It's already done. It's already finished. But can you give God thanks when you're in the store buying the turkey? Can you give God thanks when you get the job that allows for you to be able to go into the store and get the turkey? Can you give God thanks when you're filling out the application or typing in online your CV, your resume for the job while you were jobless? And thank God in advance for the position, maybe not that one, but the one God has for you. Can you give God thanks when you get just enough education to make you employable? Can you give God thanks even if you don't have the same level of education as somebody else, but you've got the rudiments of something that's going to allow for you to step into some means of being able to take care of yourself and your loved ones? In other words, what I'm trying to let you ask yourself is, can you give God thanks when you're just at the start of something, even if you don't have all of the something that you want in your life? I pray that you don't need a whole lot of stuff this year to give God thanks. I pray that the foundation is enough for you. And there's an old phrase we say in the church oftentimes: even if the Lord doesn't do another thing for you, God's already been so good. It's laid the foundation for higher heights, brand new mercies, greater blessings. Who knows what's in store for you as we come to the close of this year and get ready to step into 2026? Greater is at stake. And what if greater required your thankfulness in order to step into it? I dare you to give God thanks at the time of foundation. I dare you to give God thanks when you don't have it all. I dare you to give God thanks when all you can do is have the vision, even though it's not in your physical eyesight. I dare you this year and every day afterward to give God thanks, no matter how much or little you've got. Thank God for you. Thank God for your friends and family. And even if you don't have everything around the table, even if you don't have a table, this is a season that we ought to give God thanks. God bless you.